Spider-Man stops a military tank tearing through the city. The tank crashes into a prison, holding Mac Gargan, the Scorpion. Inside the tank is a confused woman who has no idea how she got there. Then other people start behaving the same way. Someone is jumping from mind to mind. A person attacks Spider-Man, then suddenly wakes up with no memory of doing it. The invisible enemy is not invisible at all. Damage control is being targeted too. Its director, Bill Metzger, says the attacker is searching for something called VMAX. He does not explain what VMAX is. But the mind control mystery is only half of Peter's problem. Nobody knows him. And for 4 years, that was Peter's plan. 4 years after the memory spell, Peter lives alone and works as Spider-Man full-time. The city knows the mask. MJ and Ned do not know the man underneath it. Peter tells himself it is fine. Then he sees them again. Ned is back in New York after MIT and throws a housewarming party with MJ. Peter goes inside, gives MJ flowers, and introduces himself as Maynard. Ned proudly shows off the Spidey tracker he built to identify Spider-Man. His 2 best suspects are Flash Thompson and Mr. Harrington. Then MJ's boyfriend arrives and kisses her. Peter leaves. His senses spike. His strength becomes harder to control. And then organic webbing starts coming directly from his wrists. His eyes darken. His aggression rises. Peter needs an answer. So he approaches Bruce Banner. Bruce does not know who Peter really is. Peter only asks about mutation and Bruce's inhibitor for Hulk. Bruce explains the science. Bruce warns that deciding which parts of nature are good or bad is dangerous. Peter hears the warning. Then he goes home and builds an inhibitor anyway. Very Peter Parker. Using Bruce's idea as a starting point, Peter creates his own device. It suppresses the changing parts of his arachnid DNA. His senses calm down. His body feels normal again. At least, for now. Later, the Scorpion is possessed. Through him, the attacker warns Spider-Man to stay out of the way. She also knows about MJ. Now Peter is interested for very personal reasons. He uses facial recognition to trace the mysterious red-haired woman behind the attacks. The trail finally gives him a name. Jean Grey. Jean is a mutant telepath. She can enter a person's mind, control their body, and then jump to another person nearby. But before he can understand what that means, Jean goes after MJ. Jean takes control of her body and uses her to hurt Peter in the cruelest way possible. Peter thinks MJ is talking to him. Then he realizes Jean is inside her head. A moment later, MJ wakes up in mid-air after Jean has made her jump from a building. Peter catches her. At this point, complicated reunion is becoming an understatement. Peter takes MJ to Frank Castle's hideout outside the city. Peter finally gets a clean image of Jean and confirms who she is. He also needs to fix his inhibitor before going after her again. MJ notices Peter's goggles are making the inhibitor overheat. She helps him solve the problem. Peter then makes a second inhibitor designed to suppress Jean's mutation. Get within range of one of the most powerful telepaths Peter has ever met. Easy. Jean attacks Damage Control Headquarters before Peter can reach her. She possesses Bruce Banner to get through the facility. Peter arrives and tries to stop him. Then Bruce's inhibitor breaks. Now Jean no longer has Banner. She has Hulk. Peter tries to reach Hulk instead of simply fighting him. But Jean is still moving through the facility, trying to reach Damage Control's vault. Frank arrives because MJ sent him to help Peter. Peter gives him one very clear warning. Jean's possession range is roughly 30 feet. Stay outside it. Frank gets too close. Jean takes him too. Now Peter has Hulk and a telepathically controlled Punisher to deal with. Jean uses Frank and his explosives to break toward the vault. Peter finally reaches her. He gets the second inhibitor onto her neck. Jean's powers disappear. Before she passes out, she says one word. Sara. Metzger gives Peter an explanation. He says Sara was someone he knew who died. He claims Jean learned about her while possessing him. Peter is exhausted enough to accept it. Jean is captured by damage control. Peter thinks the crisis is over. It is not. He returns to Frank's hideout and discovers another problem waiting for him. MJ found the letter Peter wrote after No Way Home. The letter explains who he is. It explains that MJ and Ned once knew Peter Parker. It explains that Dr. Strange's spell erased him from their memories. It does not go the way he imagined. MJ understands what the letter means, but she still does not remember him, and she does not love a person she cannot remember. Peter is crushed, so Spider-Man takes her back to the apartment she shares with Ned. Peter keeps the mask on. Ned is thrilled to hang out with Spider-Man. Soon the three of them are sitting together and building Lego. For a few minutes, the old chemistry is there even though the memories are not. Then MJ accidentally says Peter's real first name. Ned stares at Spider-Man. Spider-Man's name is Peter? MJ tells Peter she remembers nothing from the time Jean possessed her. Peter already knows the other victims said the same thing. People Jean controls do not remember what happened inside their minds, which means Metzger could not know what Jean discovered while possessing him. He lied. He contacts Yelena and learns Sara is not some random dead coworker. Sara Gray is Jean's sister. Peter heads for Roosevelt Island to get Jean out. Damage control has Jean strapped into the same kind of experiment that killed Sara. Metzger's people have been studying mutant abilities for their own forces. Sara's telepathy was part of that program. Damage control pushed her until she died. Now they are doing the same thing to Jean. During the experiment, Jean looks up. Above her is an old ventilation unit. The label once read VentMax. Some letters have worn away. All Jean can clearly see is VMAX. VMAX was never a weapon. It was never a secret project. It was the last thing Sara saw. Before dying in that room, Sara sent one final psychic image to her sister, VMAX. Now she knows. Her grief turns into rage. Her powers explode far beyond their old 30-foot limit. Jean freezes people across a huge section of the city. MJ stops. Ned stops. Almost everyone around Roosevelt Island becomes completely still. Peter is somehow able to keep moving. He enters the damage control facility to reach Jean, but there is another obstacle: the hand. Damage control has weapons built to counter Peter's artificial webbing, and Peter is still wearing his inhibitor. He is weaker. His organic webbing is suppressed. His artificial webs keep getting destroyed. For a while, Peter is losing badly. Jean sees exactly what Peter is doing to himself. He is weakening himself just to keep his spider side under control. She asks him the question the whole movie has been building toward. Is he Peter Parker? Or is he Spider-Man? Peter finally stops trying to choose. He tears off the inhibitor. I'm both. His full mutation returns. The black eyes, the heightened senses, the organic webbing. But this time, Peter does not lose control. He uses the new powers without letting them use him. Damage control's anti-web weapons can destroy his artificial webbing. They cannot do much against webbing coming directly from Peter. He defeats the hand and reaches Jean. She has Metzger trapped in a chair. Shards of glass float around him. Jean wants to kill the man responsible for Sara's death. Peter does not tell her Metzger is innocent. He is not. Peter tells her killing him will not bring Sara back. Jean refuses to listen. So Peter tries something else. He lets her into his mind. Jean enters one of Peter's memories of Aunt May. Peter remembers a conversation about being different and being loved for who he is. Then the memory changes. Jean takes Peter's place. May is speaking to her now. Jean has been treated as a weapon, a threat, or an experiment. In Peter's memory, she experiences something else. Acceptance. That is enough. Jean lets Metzger go. The glass falls. The fight is over. Unfortunately, Frank Castle is watching from another building, and Frank has already fired. The bullet is heading straight for Jean. Peter's spider sense goes off. He moves. The bullet hits Peter instead. He collapses. Peter spent the entire movie afraid that caring about people would only get them hurt. Now he nearly dies, saving someone who was his enemy minutes earlier. Jean could leave him. She does not. She takes control of Peter's body for a completely different reason this time. Not to use him, to keep him alive. She forces his body to keep breathing long enough for Frank to get him to a hospital. Peter survives. When he wakes up, his room is filled with letters, cards, and messages for Spider-Man. Peter Parker may have been forgotten. Spider-Man has not. Frank comes to apologize. Then the two have one last problem to solve. Peter cannot simply walk out of the hospital without risking his identity. So Frank puts on the Spider-Man suit. He appears at the window and waves to the crowd outside. Everyone watches fake Spider-Man. Real Peter quietly walks away. It is ridiculous. It works perfectly. Damage control is placed under investigation. Jean leaves the city on a bus. Peter takes a break from being Spider-Man while his body heals. More importantly, he stops treating loneliness like a requirement of the job. Then he runs into Ned again at a bodega. Ned recognizes him as the flower guy from the party. Last time, Peter called himself Maynard. This time, he tells the truth. My name is Peter. Then Peter reaches out for a handshake. Without thinking, Ned responds. The ordinary handshake slowly becomes their old secret handshake. Move after move, Ned knows exactly what comes next. His mind may not remember Peter Parker. Some part of him does. Ned looks at him. Peter. The world forgot Peter Parker. Peter almost decided that meant Peter Parker had to disappear forever. He was wrong. A brand new day does not give him his old life back. It gives him a chance to build a new one.